Hi friend, LJ with CoMuse here, back at it, bringing you 5 ways to effectively manage your time as a creative entrepreneur and doing creative projects. Welcome to my channel. If you are not familiar with me, my name is LJ. I'm the founder and CEO of CoMuse, which is the mindful business community for creative entrepreneurs working in music, media, arts, and entertainment. I help creative entrepreneurs communicate better and more clearly so they can get what they want. And on this channel, we do a lot of tips and tricks on how to do that, both working in the business and also working on the business, which, as you know, as a creative entrepreneur, we have to be able to master both things. So in this video, I want to talk to you about the 5 ways you can effectively manage your time on creative projects and in a creative business. Number 1 is prioritizing your project by purpose and impact. There are some really good questions that you can ask yourself when getting started with a creative project, like, what is the intended outcome I want for my project? Right? So getting very intentional about this project. What is my intended outcome for this project? Another great question to ask is, well, why is that so important to me? And another great follow-up question to that is, what is the biggest or greatest, most positive impact that this is going to have on me, on my work, on my team, on my business, on the industry? There's multiple levels that you can ask yourself this question in order to get very, very clear that this is the thing that you should be focusing your attention on, right? Time, it's our most precious commodity. So figuring out very quickly how you want to prioritize your time by greatest, most positive, impactful thing that you can focus on right now is a great way to dive in. Plus, when you can check that off your list, you feel a lot more productive, and it will also promote creativity as you go. So there will be a momentum, a feeling of momentum building off of your productivity, because you have just focused on the greatest, most positively impactful thing. We talk a lot about this in coaching as well because it's such a powerful question. What is the greatest, most positive, impactful thing that I can focus my time on right now to move this project forward? Number 2 is to break down your project into bite-sized, manageable steps. One of the things that I notice a lot of my clients do, especially my high accountables, my high ambition clients who are working in the creative industries, is they go all in. It's like 0 to 100. And the problem with that isn't the vision and the ambition. That's amazing, and I love the energy. The challenge with it, though, is about halfway through the trip to 0 to 100, we start to fizzle out. And this happens for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes there's new information that's coming to us as we're taking it on a new project and working on it that can move us in a new direction. And if we are not flexible, if we're too rigid in taking in that new information, it can freeze us up, right? So one of the things that I highly recommend creative entrepreneurs do, and I practice this myself, is chunking down. That is taking the overall project and breaking it into bite-sized, manageable steps that we can do in periods of time that we know we can focus in. So for example, we're setting ourselves up for success within a smaller time frame. How long is your attention span? This is something that we often overestimate. We think, oh yeah, I can focus for at least an hour and a half on this thing without a break. For most people, that's not realistic. For most people, and why the Pomodoro technique, which I'll talk a little bit about later on in this video, is so popular, is because it helps us chunk down to smaller time frames of focus. This makes us feel like we can achieve with less, and that keeps us on task. If you're setting yourself up repeatedly for failure, chances are you're not going to feel too motivated to continue. So chunk it down. What is your attention span like for this type of a task or this type of a project? Let's get real, live in reality, and have yourself sit down and write down all the different tasks that you might need to do that are required to complete a project like the one that you're working on. Chunking it down, living in reality, setting your something else that's really good is time management tools. So tools like Trello, like Jira, Atlassian has Confluence as well. There's Monday, there's ClickUp, there's tons. Google has Google Keep. There are tons of tools out there. Some of them are free, some paid, that can help you manage your time and beyond just a calendar, which we will talk about as well. But having a time management tool or a task time management tool allows you to really break things down and have visual graphs displayed in ways that speak to you best. And that visual can really help motivate you and stay on task. Also, tying things to deadlines is so important, because if you just say, I'm going to get to this soon, last time I checked, soon is not a day on the calendar. So you need to pick an actual day and an actual time when this is going to happen by. And then you will know if you are on time or you are running behind, and you can adjust as you move forward. It's really important as an accountability tool for your success and the success of your business to stay on time and be time bound. So number 3 is setting boundaries to protect your creative time. And this also involves a calendar. When you are setting boundaries of time or for your creative time, it needs to live somewhere. It needs to live in a calendar. Personally, I love Google Calendar. I use it for my business. I have for years and years, and I find it very easy to use. I like to color coordinate my calendar based on the different time blocks that I have, but this brings me to the point of time blocking. So time blocking is when you have a specific amount of time blocked out on your calendar for a very specific task in your project. Okay, so it needs to be specific, it needs to be measurable, it needs to be achievable, right? All the SMART goal attributes. It needs to be time bound. So this is very, very important to furthering your overall project. But the way you finish a project is by completing tasks one at a time. Or perhaps you have several going at once, but your focus has to change from one to the other. You have to jump around. So having times blocked out on your calendar and color-coded by task is so helpful. And I find it incredibly, like at a glance, I can see what I need to do for the day, and I can see when I'm completing that and I'm moving on to the next thing. It's a game changer. I highly recommend that you try out time blocking. And if you're not familiar with time blocking or how to do it, I have made a video on time blocking, which I will link in this video here for you to check out. This video is particularly for creative projects. Creative projects are different from operational projects. So creative projects, they tend to take more time than operational projects. Operational projects are shorter in time and they're very linear in thinking. It's one thing after the next, as opposed to creative projects or creative tasks. They may involve a lot of workshopping and creative thinking, critical thinking. There's a lot that's going on that is not necessarily linear, in which case it may require a lot more time. So, for example, when I'm doing time blocking, if I have every Monday weekly scheduling on my calendar, as I do for all of my appointments, my various types of appointments, have a block carved out. It's a 30-minute time block because I know that within 30 minutes, I can get on my calendar and I can schedule all my appointments. I can get the invitations out to all of my appointments within that 30-minute time block. I've been doing this for a very long time, and so after some adjustments over the years, I have realized I need 30 minutes to complete this, and it's on my calendar every Monday. This is an operational time block. It's not a creative time block. There really isn't any creativity involved. It's pretty, right? As opposed to, I need to do some creative planning and strategy planning for my business for 2025. So next week, I have a 4-hour time block scheduled into my calendar to focus on that. And that's going to require a lot of energy and creative juices flowing. I'm going to probably be workshopping it in a journal or on a whiteboard. I love doing visuals. I love to draw. I'm a doodler, right? So there's going to be different mediums at play, and I need a lot of freedom and time to think about that, right? Really being intentional about my strategy. This is going to require more time. So I give myself lots of time, in this case, 4 hours, to sit down and do this project. This type of creative work is deep. It's considered deep work. Some people know it as focus work or being in the flow, right? Where the inspired action energy, high vibration energy is just flowing and time falls away. You lose track of time. Your relationship with time when you are in a creative time block is it's not linear. And so for this reason, you need a lot more time. So always give yourself more time when you are doing time blocking for creative tasks and projects. Also, very important, I know this probably doesn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. It needs to be uninterrupted by outside influences. This is a heads down process. Unless you are scheduling breaks like you do in the Pomodoro technique, which I do highly recommend, you don't want to be interrupted by outside influences. So this is putting on your do not disturb, turning off all of your notifications, closing your office door if you have access to one, headphones if you need them, silence or focus music, something to really get you in that high focused mindset without any interruptions until you have scheduled a break. So important for staying in flow. So do yourself a favor and set yourself up for success, and make sure that when you're scheduling these, you're also scheduling them in a physical space where you can be uninterrupted as much as possible. So now I want to talk about the Pomodoro technique. So the Pomodoro technique it's a famous technique that's out there. There's even something called the tomato timer. It's an app that you can download. I believe it's freemium. And essentially, the recommended amount of time is 25 minutes of focused work with a 5-minute break, but you can arrange them at different intervals based on how you work best. Again, I highly recommend that you ask yourself and prompt yourself to ask, how do I work best? What is my attention span for this type of project or this type of task? And then set the timer intervals appropriately. What you do want to do is slide in a brief break, 5 minutes, maybe 10, at these 25 or so minute intervals. And it is a forced break to practice self care. This is how I choose to look at it. And it also helps me. Um, it helps so many things, but it helps the focus shift to go get a drink of water, go take a walk around the block, use the facilities, right? Have a snack, but remove yourself from your workspace and from the work headspace that you're in for 5 or so minutes, and then come back feeling refreshed. This only promotes more sustained success, and that's what this is about. So, highly recommend the Pomodoro technique when you are doing time blocking or focused blocks on your calendar, and making sure you are not just sitting down at your computer for 3 hours nonstop. That is not the way to do it. That is a good way to burn yourself out. Do not do that. Okay, so you will probably feel like, oh, I could go longer. I don't really need to take this break. That's the point. Get up and take the break. It is there to be a mindset shift for you, and it probably should feel a little sooner than you need it. So, number 4, to create more effective time management for your creative projects is to reflect on your scheduling often. And what I love to do, and I highly recommend, is to do Sunday scheduling. So, usually, some point in the early evening, I like to do this before Sunday dinner. I will sit on the couch. I'm not even in my office. I will sit on the couch with my laptop or my phone, and I will look at my calendar for the week ahead, and I will see where I can schedule in self care blocks, which I usually color code green. And self care blocks are things like, eating, going for a walk, working out, taking a nap. So I am really good to schedule those in and to color code them green. They're totally different color than my work blocks, which are also color coded differently from one another. But green is self care, and it is in my calendar every day at intervals. So I really, on Sunday, I look at the week ahead and I see where I can put those in based on what my schedule looks like. It is also such a great time to reflect on what worked well the week before. So you can ask yourself, looking at last week's calendar, what did I do with my calendaring and with my schedule and with my focus blocks and with my creative blocks? What did I do that worked really well that I can apply to this coming week, right? So great way to take the learnings from the week before and apply what worked to the week ahead. This keeps you, again, motivated and on task. We want things to work well. So if we can take the what worked well learnings and apply them, it keeps us highly motivated and excited for what's to come. We need that kind of inspired energy, high vibration energy to stay in our most creative selves. I hope that makes sense, but it is really important to stay in that mindset. And so anything that you can do to glean from the week before that worked really well, see how you might apply that to the week ahead. So finally, and I know I've kind of talked about this along the way, but number 5 to creating more effective time management for your creative projects is to rest and recharge, and to schedule that into your calendar. I mentioned in number 4 that on my Sunday scheduling, I schedule my self-care green blocks. So that is, that's all great, but then you actually have to do it. So for me, rest and recharge comes in a couple of different ways. Most of us creative entrepreneurs highly undervalue rest. We need a lot more rest than we think we do. We need better quality sleep. We probably need a nap here or there. We need to recharge in a way that's realistic and fits into our very busy schedules, because creative entrepreneurs are really fucking busy. So it's really important to stay on top of that, not just in the scheduling of your Sunday schedules, but also in the implementation. When you see a green time block pop up on your calendar, it's time to put work down and take care of yourself. It is a top line priority. I learned this the hard way as a creative entrepreneur. This is my 30th year in business and in my career. I've owned many businesses and I've worked for small and large companies alike. And I will say that making business a priority 100% of the time is going to make you sick. Your body is going to time out on you at some point, and it's going to happen at the most inconvenient time. This is how it works. So, managing the machinery, taking care of yourself, taking care of your brain health, taking care of your mental health and your emotions, taking care of your body with rest and also fun. It is so important to implement and integrate fun into your week that has nothing to do with work. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my career, coming up in my career in music and entertainment and the arts, was, oh, my work is the fun. And so when I'm not at work, it's just rest or, maintenance, self-care maintenance, which also can feel a little like you're leaving yourself a little empty-handed as we wrap our identities up in what we do for a living. And I highly encourage and recommend that you untangle that a little bit and know that it is okay to have fun with friends and with family that have nothing to do with your work. It is so important to maintain that outside of your work, and it will be nurturing and re-energizing. So things like laughing more. Do you have a friend that you can laugh with to the point where you're like crying hysterically laughing? It is the most amazing feeling to laugh that hard. Belly aching, tear jerking laughter is so healthy and so wonderful and so energizing and healing. Obviously, taking nature walks is huge. If you live close to or in and around nature, even if you can just get out for 5 minutes a day and take deep breaths of fresh air, touch a tree, hug a tree, put your toes in the grass and earth around a little bit, or just appreciate a beautiful bird and the details and the song of the bird. Be mindful and tap into nature some way, somehow. It can be incredibly recharging. Naps, I've talked about them. I am a huge advocate for naps when I can get them. I relish them. You don't need to take a long nap to recharge. Sometimes a 15-minute, 20-minute nap is enough to completely re-energize. Just set a timer and put on some soothing music or some white noise and let yourself relax for that time. Even if you can't fall asleep, just resting with your eyes closed and letting your mind relax for 20 minutes can be so, so helpful in resting and recharging. Deep breathing meditation is huge. I love box breathing. It really helps relax the parasympathetic nervous system. So tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, where you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold your breath for 4 counts at the top of the breath, you exhale for 4 through the nose, and you hold your breath for 4 at the bottom of the breath for 4 counts. So it's a box, 4, 4, 4, 4. I love it so much. And I notice that my entire body feels relaxed only after 1 minute of practicing this technique. And we talked about fun. What feels like fun to you? I love to draw. I love to laugh. I love watching really funny cat videos that I share with my husband, and we share a laugh together. There's all sorts of things out there that don't necessarily have to do with your work or your career ambitions. I am not perfect at this. I am constantly practicing this, and I'm slowly increasing the amount that I do because it's been so good for me and my health, and quite frankly for my family. Let's do a quick recap of the 5 things that you can do to create effective time management for your creative projects. Number 1 is to prioritize your purpose and your impact for the project that you are working on. Number 2 is to break down projects into manageable steps. Number 3, set boundaries and protect your creative time. Number 4 is to regularly reflect and adjust your schedule as needed. We talked about having the Sunday schedules, and also reflecting back on what worked well the week before so that you can integrate it and implement it in the week ahead. And finally, rest and fun to recharge yourself and create this sense of sustained success in the way that you don't just show up in your career, but in your life. It's so important. I hope this is helpful. Please let me know in the comments how you might use certain techniques to create effective ways to manage your time. And let me know how I can best support you in your creative careers. I'm wishing you well. Compassion rocks, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.